Hello, everyone. My name's Paul Allard, and I'm a nursing student in the Psychiatric and Mental Health Nurse Practitioner program here at Hertzing. And I just want to say thank you, everyone, for a really great semester, long and hard, and thank you all for the awesome discussion conversations we've had all semester. So I'll be presenting my community project. And for my project, what I identified in my community was a need for better mental health services for kids. In our area, there are no services for children under the age of 14 who have mental health issues. And as you can see, there's a fairly high rate of diagnosed uh, mental disorders in young people, and that's not including all of the poor kids who are going undiagnosed. So this plan for the community is a community-based plan for stress and anxiety management tools um, that need to be modeled for children and adolescents, and they need to be modeled through practice and fitness. Um, a community is a group of people with diverse characteristics who are linked by social ties, share common perspectives, and engage in joint action in geographical locations or settings. And one of the issues that I identified while I was doing my community assessment is that this definition doesn't really address the issue of people's experience in a community. Um, there may be social ties, there may be common perspectives, it may be a single geographic location, but different people have different experiences in a community. And I think children are no different when it comes to that. You know, parents are living lives, paying bills, interacting, and you know, kids a lot of the times, especially in the world of COVID, are becoming more and more isolated and having a very different experience than a lot of people. But uh, but this is a basic definition of community that I've used for my project. The community that I assessed was Littleton, New Hampshire. It's a very small town that I live in, and it's in northern New Hampshire. It's located in the White Mountain National Forest. And as I said, it's a very small town with limited services for everyone in healthcare, but especially children and adolescents who need mental health, help with mental health. So in my windshield survey, again, it's a small community. It's very safe. The schools are actually very highly ranked across the country. New Hampshire ranks in the top 10 for schools and safety. It was ranked as the best place to raise a daughter for several years in a row. So uh, it's a very good state to have a family in. However, one of the problems we have is most of our economy depends on tourism. So when there's economic boom times, there's a lot of money coming through, and as soon as the economy isn't doing well, tourism dries up immediately, and the state can really suffer. So that that's had a large effect, especially on Littleton, because it was a manufacturing town. There was good jobs. They were stable. They were good blue collar, white collar jobs, and people had a were able to make a strong living. And now with this tourist dependent economy, that all the people who used to work in industry and in manufacturing and logging no longer really have a means of survival in the area, which again can make for a very different experience in what most people see as a beautiful little tourist town that in fact really suffers from lack of services and lack of acknowledgement of those services because of how much money comes through from tourism and again the limited mental health services. So Littleton, New Hampshire has not really grown in any meaningful way since the 1970s. Um, as you can see, there's only been an increase of about 600 people, and since 2010, the town's lost people, and that is a direct result of the manufacturing moving out of town. Every decade, less and less industry was here, therefore, there were less and less jobs. And it's a northern rural town. It's very homogenous. It's 96% white, very small African American population, Native population, Asian, and then there are some mixed race families as well. However, again, there's not a lot of diversity. It's one of the forgotten towns outside of again the tourist industry. So I did my project at Presidential Range CrossFit here in town, and I did it with the CrossFit Kids coach. The owners of Presidential Range CrossFit are Marie and Jamie Myers. They're also two of the coaches there, and they are very active community members. They helped build hundreds of miles of um, bike trails called the Borderlands for mountain biking in the area. So when I brought my present or my idea for working with the kids in a more uh, not more meaningful way, but in a way that really focused on stress and anxiety management for kids to practice how to, engage with life a little bit more successfully. They were and do that through mindfulness and physical fitness and modeling behavior from adults that they looked up to. They were very interested in allowing me to do that, and Meg is a coach that I see regularly. She coaches every class I go to. She also runs the CrossFit Kids program. And she's the person that I really worked with day to day on developing our plan, developing our goals, developing our method of running class. And she really was the key to my relationship with the kids in the CrossFit Kids classes. And two resources that we identified. One was the local middle and high school guidance counselor. She's a regular CrossFit member, and when she heard what we were doing, she offered, for us to put her name and her contact information on her handout. I've kept it out of anything going to the university or other students. She wanted to leave that out. But we gave a handout to the kids, and it had her information. So if they're in a stressful situation while in school, they know that they have her to reach out to. And unfortunately, our other resources, Lieutenant Chris, another active CrossFit member. He's a local police officer, and he when we talked to him, he described a lot of situations, where his young kids weren't able to figure out good coping mechanisms and ended up in situations that unfortunately led to police intervention. So we offered his contact information as well, for the kids if they felt unsafe or if they felt the situation was getting out of hand and that it could turn very poorly. They could call him and ask for help. So very helpful in our program. So, one of the things, obviously, that we've seen in our town and I think across the country is an increase in social isolation for kids, increased exposure to social media, which has been shown over and over again to lead to issues with depression and anxiety, where these poor kids are seeing these perfectly staged images of lives that aren't real. That can lead to mental illness, decreased activity, constant access to very negative news outlets, and parents who are isolated and struggling and trying to make ends meet, keep their kids at home, continue to work, constant COVID testing. There's a lot of factors that are compounding, and when students are stuck at home behind a computer screen, they're not learning social interaction and how to manage their stress and their anxiety. And, when people get pent up anger and frustration, physical activity has been shown over and over again to be a good outlet. So when, kids are being more sedentary, they really don't have the tools they need to be able to manage stress and anxiety. So the diagnosis here is for people under the age of 18 in Littleton are at risk of stress and anxiety overload related to sedentary social isolation. And the plan that I put in place with Presidential Range CrossFit and Coach Meg is a basic stress and anxiety management process that was implemented into a CrossFit Kids class. And this gave kids not only practice, but tools to manage their stress and anxiety in their daily lives. So the intervention that we created is what we called BWTR, breathe, walk, talk, re-engage. It's nothing new. It's something, that is taught in a lot of different areas. But the basic idea is when students are out in their life, a lot of the times they're faced with stressful situations and they feel like they have to figure it out and fix problems immediately, when we want to teach them to take a deep breath, get up, go for a walk, talk to somebody, whether a peer, their guidance counselor, Lieutenant Chris, whoever it may be, talk through the problem, process a little bit, and then come back and re-engage with whatever situation may be producing stress or anxiety. And the way that we did that was by implementing that model into the class. So we would start with a mindfulness breathing exercise. Kids are coming in after a long day of school, they're crazy, they're pent up, and we want them to breathe a little bit. We only spent a minute, we kept it very short, but deep breaths to come into focus of this is what we're doing. Then we would move into the workout of the day. So, first breathe, then walk or move. So we would do whatever the workout was that Meg had programmed into the class. And then we cut class a little bit short and we let kids just hang out and talk and interact however they wanted to. So that way they could practice, really communicating with each other. And we were able to watch that and see how they acted pre and post workout. And once we started implementing, some ideas about utilizing our peers to talk to balance some of our stress, to show them that we're all pretty similar, to give them an outlet for someone to talk to if they're not comfortable going to their guidance counselor or, a police officer in town. And then at the end of the first class, we gave them the pamphlet, which is in my Appendix A, which I'll show at the end of the presentation. And that was given out, and it walks through our method for breathe, walk, talk, re-engage. And the way that we evaluated it was, by setting our goals. And our first goal was to ask all of the participants to describe what breathe, walk, talk, re-engage was. Reiterate to us, tell us BWTR. What does it stand for? What do you do? And what does that mean to you? And they were all able to come back and say that, describe it, and tell us, exactly what BWTR was. So that was really good. We met that goal. And then we also did kind of a practice session where we had the kids act out a stressful situation. Then we asked them to stop, breathe, go for a walk, talk to somebody, and then go back to the situation. These are 10 to 15-year-old kids. It was silly. It was fun. They didn't take it all that seriously in a lot of instances. However, they were able to walk through it, and they were able to understand what we were trying to help them with. And then also we talked to them about, a goal was to be able to identify the resources in town that they can utilize if something comes up that they can't handle on their own, or they need more than a peer support. And they were all able to identify who those people were, who those resources were. And then the other one was we wanted to see a more positive interaction with the participants, and over time, teaching them how to interact in a way that was really supportive and a little less combative and competitive. And we were able to see the kids really start to, mesh and meld and become very, very close with each other. So again, childhood stress and anxiety, it's a community problem, and it's a problem in communities across the country. Littleton's no different than any other town. Um, our community was receptive to this project, and they were all very helpful. And one of the things that's so important for me as a practitioner in the future is I live in a beautiful area with lots of mountain biking, hiking, swimming, boating, skiing, all the things that are such good outlets for stress and anxiety, and they need to be utilized by the community to help young people cope with the stressful lives that we live in today's world. So that was my project. These are the resources, and this is the pamphlet that we left for all of the students that they were able to take home with them and utilize. Thank you very much, and I look forward to your comments.